We'll start I'm Kamala Gunwadana, Council Member and Chairperson of the Knowledge Sharing Subcommittee of Civil Engineering Sectional Committee. Welcome you all for today's webinar. Actually, before starting today's event, I'll take this opportunity to brief you about our activities of Civil Engineering Sectional Committee very briefly. We have scheduled technical presentations on Tuesdays, and it is reserved Tuesdays. Normally we do medium-rise buildings, designs and constructions. Wednesdays are for non-technical, but that is going well with the public events and so on. Thursdays, like today, this event, we have taken the multidisciplinary technical presentations on Thursdays. So this is one of our scheduled program. Apart from this, actually, we have organized field visits and technical tours, so on. So I suggest you all to be with us, keep in touch with Civil Engineering Sectional Committee, so you can absorb the advantages and all the benefits from what we are doing. Let me come to today's event. This is organized by the Civil Engineering Sectional Committee. Title is, as you can see, effective use of urban space for a sustainable transportation system, which is focused on Sri Lankan context. Actually, very timely needed it's a topic, and thank you, Dr. Lienge, for that. This will be a series of lectures, and Dr. Tissalierge will be focused on sharing the knowledge on urban transportation as of history to present, and how we plan, design, and operate the urban land use and transportation setup with reference to the modern day demand for sustainable economic development of a country like Sri Lanka. These are from his own words. I'm definite that this would be a very impressive and effective webinar for you all as the civil engineers, and most probably you all are from the industry. So let me do this instigating note about the speaker, though he is a well-known personality. Engineer Dr. Tissalierge, a highway traffic and transportation engineer, having almost 24 years of experience in the industry. He's a graduate from University of Moratuwa and obtained his master's in highway and traffic engineering in 2004 and completed his PhD in 2008. He instigated his career as a highway design engineer and excelled in traffic engineering. Has contributed to various large-scale projects in Sri Lanka in different capacities, inclusive of the role of the team leader and so on. He also has contributed in the Asian region as an international senior traffic engineer for major PPP-related highway improvement projects. Professionally, he is a fellow member of the ISL and has served in the council of the ISL in both age groups below 40 and above 40. He is an international professional engineer, Sri Lanka, and also holds memberships in several prestigious institutions. Apart from the ISL, he has been elected for 2 consecutive terms in the Council of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport, and presently he is elected as the President of Sri Lanka Society of Transport and Logistics. He has published over 40 national and international research papers. Presently, he is the Principal Traffic and Transportation Engineer
Hello.
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 Yeah, I'm sorry, I got the power interruption now. So I think I have come to the end of the presentation. Dr. Tissa, please take over and proceed with the webinar. Thank you.
Can you hear me, madam?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Right. This area also power cut, right? So I don't have any. I'm in under the darkness. So anyway, I will switch off my video, and I will. If you can see my screen now, I can go ahead.
Yeah, we can see, and you can go ahead.
Right. Okay. We'll see that how much you can do. And thank you very much. Sorry for interruptions. All this area we have got power cut unusually. It is not scheduled, I think, but it has gone now. Thank you very much for participating for this first lecture of this series of transportation engineering series of lectures organized by Civilizational Section Committee under the chairmanship of Professor Jayasinghe, MTR Jayasinghe. So thank you very much. So you can hear me, no? You can hear me and you can see my screen now. Is it all right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Because I'm repeating this one because this area no power cut, no power at all at the moment. So let's proceed with the presentation. So good evening to everybody, and Madam Kamala Gunadhan as well for a good interaction, very interesting interaction, and organizing this event today. If you see the screen, so I'm going to discuss about today the urban context, specifically in Sri Lanka, and how we can relate this transport and urban development in future, and what are the issues we are having as at now, and how these other countries in regional countries managing in a sustainable manner and development of the economy with the relationship with this development through the transportation and urban development interrelations. In this screen, you can see a large number of banners here. So can see that some tags like effective land use, minimum travel, maximum time for economy. Why these things are highlighted here? Because you know that transportation is called a derived demand, and most of our engineers, I think that all are not transportation engineers. There are some inside there, and we travel for some other reasons, because some other reasons. We don't need to travel otherwise. We are traveling because of some other activities that is related to the household and our activities, commercial activities, our office activities, our education activities are separated from our household. That's why we are traveling. Other than this leisure, all the other trips we are making every day is because of some other reason. So it is not coming because of interest to travel. So that's why we are called it's a derived demand. Demand is coming because of some other reason. So in such instance, for people to utilize their activities and their engagement with other facts, so we need to always manage this transportation in an efficient manner. Why? It is something that we don't need. at a time, right? If people can be there in a moment, the place they are desiring, we don't need this transportation. We are not thinking of this complicated transportation. So this is related with a lot of concerns, like therefore we need to minimize the travel of our all the activities, because it is economic and it's a costly item, item for our budget always. And if you save time from this transportation, the time we are spending for transportation, we can use it for some other activities, like our office activities, our working, our home activities, leisure, and everything. So transportation is interrupting our activities. So when the transportation activities are getting higher, there are a lot of externalities like emissions, carbon footprint, and global warming, and a lot of things. So we are thinking of better health and environment in an urban area. And nowadays, you know that with this economic situation, especially Sri Lanka, you can feel it now with this power cut. A lot of areas, I found that previous lecture also, there was some power cut in some other areas. So energy is very important resource. We can't spend a lot of money for this transportation and energy. It consumes a very high portion of energy in Sri Lanka and all over the world. And finally, we need to have better society. That's why we are looking out and talking about this urban transportation and the urban development relationship. So that is the idea. So I'm going to talk about few factors here. So before everything, we need to understand the evolution of transportation. That is how transportation involved with development activities. And we need to understand history of transportation in Sri Lanka, and land use changes, and what is microeconomic behaviors of economic setup of a country, and how that can relate to transportation, present inefficiency in transportation and challenges in Sri Lanka, and some of the modern land use planning and transportation examples from regional countries are due in this presentation within a short period. So I'm trying to explain as much as possible, but it is a vast area. I can't explain everything within a day. So series of lectures are planned for under this Civil Engineering Sectional Committee monthly programs. So maybe once in a month, there will be a lecture on this area. So as Engineer Kamala Gunawardhan mentioned. So first of all, we have to understand how evolution of transportation, how it came out. You know that we have learned at our primary education and secondary education as well, the ancient time of civilization, how those came in. And you know that Mohenjo-daro, Harappa in Nile River Basin, and Yangtze and Huangho in Chinese the civilization, and this Egypt their civilization. A lot of things are happened in based on river and the water transportation. So water transportation was the main transportation mode and the first ever utilized transportation other than walking in the history. So walking was limited for a certain radius, certain distance even at the stone era. They had not much options, and their travel distance were limited to very limited area, maybe maximum of 5 kilometers like that. So during Vedas time, they are not using any modes, so they are just walking. So their travel distances were very, very limited. So once it came to this civilization with the water transportation based the civilization, so a lot of transport involved with the water transportation. That's why I have highlighted here the civilization, the ancient civilization. So we are very much aware of this one. And this early, it was non-motorized modes, not like today. A lot of effort were made to utilize non-motorized because there were no options for people. Not like today, we have a lot of options, many options, but ancient time, we didn't have much options. So basically it's walking. And after that, people invented like use of, after inventing the wheel actually. So different type of animals were used for transportation, basically goods transportation with animals. And sometimes in the kingdom of even our ancient kingdoms, we use this dolava, that is called during the kingdom time. Even not in Sri Lanka, you can see the bottom picture here, 1883 Thailand. This is also something like that we have used the saddle. So we call it nowadays in some simple cars also. And you can see some pictures of water transportation. The wind power boats were used during that time to travel from country to country. That is the evolution of transportation brief. So both goods and passengers were travel expanded with the invention of wheel. So that was the time that a lot of activities and development activities of transportation taken place. And the wind power was the source of transport used in the water transportation. So this shows you understanding of the history of transportation development in Sri Lanka. This is taught in university levels as well and MSc levels. And we are talking about pre-arrival of European. That is, everybody knows that in 16th century, we were at the kingdom of utilizing the elephants, horses, bullock carts, and this you call sedan, that is sedan called dolava. And this time travel needs were limited to shorter distances, even then. And we didn't have these horses at in Sri Lanka. After Europeans came, we had this, that is the post-arrival of Europeans in 1505 to 1948. That was a time three type of nations invaded Sri Lanka, as you all know. And they started with, introducing horse carts, bullock carts, rickshaws, and cars, and trains also came in 1860s. And they developed these canal boats and things. So this is how Sri Lanka developed the transportation from that era at this post-arrival of Europeans. So we can discuss a lot of things here. You can see some of the pictures in 90s, early stage of 20th century, and how it was in 1920s, it's gold face. People were there, and that time rickshaws were the popular mode of transport, just like three-wheeler today. And this Dutch Canal was developed in 18th century, and Hamilton Canal in 19th century. Those were used to transport goods from the land to the seaport, so that now it is being used for fishery activities. And this first car was taken to Sri Lanka in 1902. That was British government, British colonial situation at the time. And here I'm going to talk about how this close years of independence, that is 1940s to 1970s, that was a time that this motorized transport started in Sri Lanka. That is motorized road transportation, because train transportation was introduced earlier, that is 19th century. And buses and trains, trolley buses, the double-decker buses were introduced to Sri Lanka. And at that time, there were many tram cars on in Colombo. Still, this some of the sleepers are there. You could see in Colombo, York Street, 1950s. You can see in this picture, and trolley bus is 1950s. That is a time that bus transportation started in Sri Lanka, 1940s onwards, right? And motor cars were also introduced. That is specifically for this rich people and kind of government officers like that. They used to use these motor cars, and railway transportation was continuing from as a first and the motorized transport system in Sri Lanka. And these were actually integrated very well. And before that, in 1960 to 1977, that was the time that before the open economy came in. So we had a good bus transport system. At this time, this is called golden time for bus transportation in Sri Lanka. And that time I remember that people were talking about, if you want to have a, if you go for a marriage proposal, if someone working in CDB at that time, that was a very much of prestigious and accepted employment for having a good marriage at that time. So that is so recognized in Sri Lanka. And it was like bus and the railway transportation was integrated. That is how this British people developed the railway system and the public transport system. Every railway station there was a bus terminal and connected. Now we are talking about the multimodal transport system. Those are actually, we had these things in the past. So now we are talking about we have to have this multimodal and new transport system. Those were there, but we are struggling how to manage this land use and this transport system. And this majority of this mode of transport used by middle income, and there is a public transport used by middle income people, and for transportation of the export items from upcountry to Colombo seaport was through train transportation. And this is after the open economy, that is 1970s to 2000, a lot of changes had happened, and a lot of privatization of transportation, and private bus transportation came in, and that was competing, and that was something affected very badly to Sri Lanka Transport Board, and competition was very high, and this came in with three-wheeler as a paratransit mode, and a lot of private transportation, SUVs and luxury vehicles came into Sri Lanka because of the policies were so flexible for car ownership, and buying vehicles is very much flexible. If someone has enough money, they can go for per capita income is high, so they could manage it a lot of vehicles. And at this time, government had to spend a lot of money for developing roads as to support this infrastructure for the demand. So road transportation was very much emerging, whereas rail transportation was diminishing by this time. Still, it is continuing, and you can see that differences in Sri Lanka we are facing. And more and more private car ownership was dependent. Even now, that has been grown, and you can see a lot of traffic congestion in our roads in Sri Lanka. And we have encouraged for this car ownership and the development of the roads by starting this expressways. And the first expressway was developed and opened in October 2010. I was there, actually. I was working as a consultant for the Southern Transport Development Project. That was the first section from Kottawa to Gold was opened there. And mode shift from public mode to private motorized transportation was continued, and that was a negative direction of any part of any part of the world, any country, because you can see towards the end of these slides how the other developed countries are moving towards a public transport while we are going in the other direction. That's why I'm showing here. It's a negative direction. Sorry. And the roads became overloaded, and high traffic congestion was our results there because of that reason. And this is something inside of railway transportation. Some of the nice pictures, how ancient time, how this the steam engine started in 18th century, and that was Thomas Survey is said to have invented the first commercially used steam engine in 1690. That was coming in 17th century, and establishing the Britain as the leader of the industrial revolution. So that is industrial revolution started with this steam engine. And the steam locomotive railway construction started in 1820, and that is in UK. And Manchester steam locomotive railway opening in 1830s. A lot of activities were started, and train services were started in Colombo in Sri Lanka in 1685 with the coal-powered engines. And later on, these diesel engines were introduced after invention of it in 1885. There were a lot of that has taken a lot of time for doing experiments and improving, modifying. That has taken nearly 15 years to get it tested and have a commercial type of engine. So that's how it has gone up. And after that, there was a big change. And you can see some pictures in Sri Lanka, Kandy railway line. If you go to the internet, you can see a lot of that kind of photos. And together with that, the modern urban transportation system was introduced, like with tram cars in Colombo. And that is with the history of transportation. I just brief you. It's a vast area. Learning of history of transport is a very big exercise. A lot of things are there, but just brief the essence of that for you to understand how this Sri Lanka developed their transport with time. And this one is I want to show you little, and I want to give you a little insight of this. What is this microeconomic behavior on transport demand? This slide shows you that if some developments come in some area, it can be urban, it can be rural, it can be like semi-urban, like. So when there's a development comes in, it can be buildings or factory or any other offices like that. So there is a first time there's a demand for employment and infrastructure, and sometimes for a factory getting the raw material and labor. Those are making some kind of demand for travel, because if that is a center, there is a demand for people to come there as a working place or as a factory and a manufacturing place like that. What is happening once the operation setup is done there? There is a number of people coming there, and sometimes once they come, there is another demand created for some other things. For example, if new school is developed, started somewhere, teachers are coming to school, and sometimes the teachers' quarters are coming in, and once they have come and reside there, their families are coming. Then when the families are coming, they need some additional resources, services and everything. Then what is happening? For such demand, there are small boutiques earlier. Now it is supermarkets and things coming in, and services are provided. There is a demand for services, so services are coming in and setting up in the area. So with these services, you need more people. When these more people come in there, what is happening? They also coming with families and more employees and more resources. They also need similar kind of things for their livelihood, and it becomes something a chain kind of a demand created for different activities. So with that, they need to have worship place, temple, church, and they need to have supermarket. With that, all this, if supermarket comes there, there are people to come there and work. They also bring some families and their other like facilities they need. Like they also need some hospitals and some other their children to go to the schools and like that. So it's a kind of a expansion with to a certain limit, until the demand and the supply balances. This process goes on. It depends on how much your first investment, how much if it is a large scale, like understand that it's a pre-trade zone, so it's a large scale one. It's a foreign invested the pre-trade zone, say thousands of people are working, and this was planned actually. If I get example, this was not happen even though we developed a lot of infrastructure in Hambantota, expecting that this microeconomic situation, microeconomic balances to come up. So how that was planned? We have planned airport, seaport, and the Southern Expressway to connect to that area. So all these things were planned as integrated things, and we had a lot of convention center and some other offices and large wider roads and things. So expected all these things to happen, but it was not integrated. So that's something we couldn't explain at this moment. But this is natural scenario. If something developed there, there should be some microeconomic development. So this has made overloaded a lot of congestion in Colombo, because you can see that this is naturally happening in Colombo. So once new people are coming, new employment are generated like that. So all this matters for increasing this microeconomic setup. This is something I can explain in future lectures in detail. So just for giving you understanding of that. This is the, I want to explain you one terms here. It's a utility maximization, transportation. What is utility maximization? Basically, now all of us like to go and travel for longer distances, and we like to travel like overseas and some, like recreational trips all over the country. But what matters for us is there are some constraints, there are some restraints, we call it. And the desires at the very beginning for travel and the needs is, unlimited for people. That's the behavior of people. That's the behavior and the nature of the people. So we all need a lot of things. We have a lot of needs. So even though we have a lot of needs, satisfaction of these needs is very difficult, because there are a lot of constraints. Like, for example, you don't have enough money, so we have to have some expenditure capacity. So to fulfill these desires, and we need to have, time, and we sometimes for traveling we need to have vehicles and energy. We are concerned of safety, and these are called restraints. And finally, our desires of the realization of our, say, travel or some satisfaction of some other activities, those are not getting realized as much as we expected. So what we are going to do is that because of this restraint and the desires, we are trying to match what is the best outcome we are getting from the any kind of interventions. And this is called, basically this optimization is called maximum utilization of the our desires, our resources. This is called in transportation, this term is called utility maximization. So this is what it is shown in the top figure there. And I want to explain the bottom, the diagram. All these desires people are creating because of the socio-economic characteristic. What are the socio-economic characteristics mean? We are talking about our economy, our cultural aspects, our the region we are living, and our other activities, the friends we are having, so many things are there. And because of these differences, our activity demand, desire for the travel, desire for education, desire for the expenditure for hospitals, everything is different. And because of this social characteristics, there is something called activity demand. We need to go to offices, we need to go for a good job, we need to go for a shopping, a good place, and having a lot of passions there, right? So these are all called behavioral. And for this behavioral, you can't satisfy unless you are having a supply system. What is supply system? Supply means for your desire there should be something from to be provided from somewhere else. So for example, shopping, you need to have a very modern shopping complexes for satisfying your demands, like costumes, clothing, and everything. So this is called, the other end, it is called activity system. This is what officers, belongs to officer, supermarket, and all the supply set in urban area. And the problem is that this activity demand and this activity supply system is, placed apart from each other. That is different and separated from distance. So this gap is bridged by transportation. That is the concept shown here. So this is called response, the choices. You have choices for both transportation and the activity system. Why it is both mean? Transportation also you have options. Not like in Sri Lanka, the other countries developed countries, a lot of options are there. But Sri Lanka, we have a lot of options, but sometimes those are not very much attractive for us, especially public transport. So finally, it is called this bridging is called activity related travel. That is the result of any part of the world. Travel desires, I will, this is you can understand, how this different mode of transport is decided by people based on the distances. If you are traveling for a short distance, that is basically you are walking, and say for a short distance, cycling is option. And for something like 20 kilometers, you can use a bus, or if it is going more than 40 kilometers longer distance, you can go for a MRT, LRT, railway system, and like that. So this is depend on this is our urban transport setup. Each and every purpose and destination travel distance matters with this kind of a setup for selection. So if you don't have these options, you are kept to use. So that's why I'm not showing here the car option. Car is also in between. Car is everywhere. Even for buying a loaf of bread, you are going by car sometimes for a 1 kilometer distance. It is not very much compatible with this. So selection of mode is very much depend on the availability. That's the ownership, basically public transport options and car ownership like that. And there are some restrictions in countries like Singapore. There are some entry restrictions, and the parking is very much restricted in some areas, not very much popular in Sri Lanka. And the operation and the maintenance cost is the matter for this desires and the transport setup in urban area. This slide is very important to understand. This one actually, that more roads, it is something globally accepted scenario that more roads mean more traffic. So you need to, if you need to have more roads, there will be more traffic. So you cannot stop. People are talking about, when you have a lot of roads and expressways, you will have someday, traffic congestion relief. It is not happening. It is it's a global scenario. The reason you will understand at the end of this lecture. And we have limited urban space. We can't create land. So land is limited exactly. Even Jua, you can develop something like, the Colombo Port development project, like kind of things. But that is also, it's a land, and it's between something we are talking about in between sea space and the, land space. But globally, it is limited. And the main issue is again the social impacts. So with the transport development, road developments, we have this issue there. So what is shown in this project cycle is very important to understand. Transportation land use cycle. When you improve the road capacity, what is happening? There's increased accessibility. What will happen then? There's an increased land value. Then there will be more and more development coming in. Land use change. More developments are coming and more opportunities are coming. So more people are coming to urban area and for many activities. So there will be more and more trips coming in, and that will create increased conflict. Maybe in road transportation, you understand that in junctions, a lot of conflicts, and road sections, congestion, lane capacities are not adequate like that. And this is called deterioration of level of service. You will have a lot of level of service issue on the road network. So once the level of service decrease, again you are talking about, okay, we need to expand and widen the roads. So will it end there? So what will happen again? This project cycle is going on. Increase accessibility again. The 2-lane roads are made to 4-lane. Then sometimes the 4-lane is also circulating like that. So there will be a saturation and of that deterioration of the LO is coming. And again, you are increasing that to 6 lanes, 8 lanes. That this is endless process. So this is good for a country who is having a lot of the GDP and a lot of developments, but country like Sri Lanka, it is not very much sustainable if this is continuing, because this is a costly investment and externalities are a lot, and you don't have any time for economic activities rather than constructing roads. So specifically urban areas. So you can see that this is happening in urban areas, but a little bit of maintenance is happening. And the solutions, the traffic-based solutions are short-term only. You can't expect long-term traffic-based solutions. And transportation-based solutions are medium and long-term. You need to go for transportation. Transportation and traffic, there are some differences. So we are talking about traffic mean the number of vehicles, but transportation means the travel, right? That is how I can simply explain that within this limited time. And sustainable development needs proper urban planning. That is one side that urban planners are talking about, and they are the experts. They can do proper planning by having vertical development. That's the present trend. But it doesn't mean that vertical development, and I have seen that a lot of lectures from Professor Jayasinghe, and there we are talking about a lot of high-rise buildings and a lot of facilities there, new technology and things. But we have to maintain basically a lot of green spaces together with this vertical, the usage of vertical space. So what is happening there? We can save a lot of area, a lot of land by going with the vertical development and the buildings. So that is to be given priority. And for this, with the improved and the high dense development, we need mass transportation. That's the concept. And this one is coming to Sri Lankan conditions as at now. You can see there are more than 2 million people coming into, passengers coming to Colombo Municipal Council. The below picture, you can see that this is the boundary municipal council area. There are 12 main corridors, and through that there are nearly 600,000 vehicles coming in, and wrong use of energy, I have to say. And average of this 12 main roads, we are having 38 lanes. You know that multi lanes and 6 lanes, 4 lanes roads are there. And basically, if I simplify this one to number of vehicles per lane, it is like nearly 1,200 vehicles. Everybody knows that, any traffic engineer, highway engineer knows that 1,200 vehicles per lane per hour is the basic capacity of a lane. And during peak hours, you can see all the lanes are filled, but it is only the peak hour. So nobody is planning for peak hours. That's why, some public is talking about it's a traffic congestion during peak hour, but we can't, plan. Even the building is sometimes developed for serviceability conditions, not for ultimate the conditions. According to my understanding, I'm very poor in structural, but in our case, I have to say that with this setup, there are 2 million tons of vehicles as it's an estimate, and that brings to Colombo city daily. So burning over 1,000 metric tons of fuel a day, 1,000. So you can see that you are having this mathematics now at the moment, because you know that this ship is coming with fuel, how many metric tons brought to Sri Lanka last week and next week, like that. This is all discussed at the moment. This fuel cost only can be estimated something like 100 billion a year, and this is 56%, nearly 55% is going for four-vehicle users, and buses are only consuming 23%. These are some estimates I did with the recent traffic data and the data I had collected for some of the lot of projects. And the parking cost I estimated over an year is something like 40 billion. If I take this land value in Colombo, this municipal council area, based on the number of vehicles parked there. And more than 52% of this parking cost is coming from the four-wheelers. How about congestion cost? We are not talking about this one. So only for a project based, we can get this, and any kind of projects we are calculating these things. And finally, what really we need is, my understanding is that we need people to come to city, not the vehicles, not the tons of vehicles coming to a city. So you can see all these pictures in developed countries, and the concepts are urban designers are planning for to see people, not the vehicles. You can't see a single vehicle on these pictures there, other than the bottom one, there's one park there, but all are people, right? So we need to get the people. So how to get the people to come to the city is what matters for us to decide. So this is traffic congestion impacts. You all know that our cities, this is something in Gampaha, Ganemulda, the first picture across the railway crossing. Once the railway is, closed for it, this is how, people travel, and, from the bus and congestion with the three-wheel and motorbike and cars, all that. And so the road congestion is basically restraints to move as you wish. So you wish to, travel at 60, 70 kilometers per hour, even more if you want. That's why you are constructing these expressways to go for more than 100 kilometers per hour. And you may wish to have, even 300 kilometers per hour. That is how people want to travel fast and save time. That is what it's called at the very beginning. This is a derived demand. And time cost is main impacts are the time cost, value of time of people. Each and every, you and me are having different, value of time. So it's depend on the earning capacity of person. So there's some way of calculating this one. I'll show you in future, the future lectures because of the time limits. And mission schedules, activities. We don't want, mission schedules and the reliability of transportation because of traffic congestion. Increase vehicle operating costs because of the waiting and the idling of the engines, like that. Air pollution, then that matters for health. Accident, safety because of the aggressive behavior of people, the drivers. And this has been a very big impact to the national economy. And traffic demand management is very important for strategic policies to reduce the travel demand. That is why, because as I mentioned earlier, large number of tonnage of vehicles are coming in to carry about 1.2 on average per vehicle passengers in Colombo area, as per the research we have done. This is a percent utilization of road space in main corridors. These 38, the 12 traffic corridors there. You can see that average of 50, this is based on 2018 data, average of 50% of passengers to Colombo city are carried by buses only. That is utilizing only 10% road space. So can you think that, how much of things we are having road space if you are going for bus transportation only, or higher bus transportation person. It's like in coming in exponential curve demand for this one. If we can increase somehow, so if the supply curve can increase, so there will be a big reduction of traffic congestion. So marginally, if you increase by another 10% or 5% or 2%, there will be a big impact to reduce this traffic congestion because of this reason. And other private modes carries only 45%, including cars and motorbike, three-wheeler, and even something like trucks and everything. And this is occupying 62% of the road space, and other than trucks. So this is how the bottom picture, you can see that again, passenger per bus, it's like on average of nearly 12 to 15 numbers per unit space, say passenger car unit. So if you take that passenger car unit, you can have about 12 to 15. It is more than for a bus itself, right? So for a car, it is like only less than 2 passengers. For a van, it is less than 4. It is about 3.2 something like that. Three-wheeler, it is 2 like that. So this is the mathematics. This is like fraction. You can see why it is important for public transportation. This is how our inefficiency of our Colombo Peta bus terminal. I want to highlight these things because these are the major factors. Factors I can show you how efficient how inefficient our transport system in Sri Lanka. Nothing has been done so far, and a lot of studies has been done, but it is not implemented. So basically, it's a mixed zone. In Peta area, you can see that it's a radial transport network in that port area. This is we call radial transport network in Colombo. All the roads are coming to city center, Peta area, Port and Peta. All the trains are coming there. So this is called the radial transport network. So there are no much options for orbital transport system. In developed countries, developing countries, and they are planning for grid systems to reduce this orientation. And Overloading, inefficient public transport is at terminals are the things that we can observe. You can see in this figures in main railway station, there are about 100,000 passengers coming in and out a day. And Bastion Mao, the bus stand, again 100,000. These are 2018, 2000, recently 2016 somewhere. And SLTB bus, 75,000 passengers. And this other bus terminal, going to Singapore, about 6,000 buses. Within this 2 kilometer length of, 1.2 kilometer length of the Olkat Mawata, there are 238 passengers, the pedestrians crossing this road a day. That is because of this nature of this public transport terminals are laid out. So it is everywhere. So congestion, the causes, and lot of time inefficiency, and also a lot of the value of time losses for people. So this is a utterly inefficient transport system for a country. So you can see this in this picture, how this rail transportation and bus transport system in Peta area. You can see that there are big peaks, more than 10,000 people coming in within the peak hour, two peak hours. And in the evening, this is in the evening, and this is in the morning. And whereas in the daytime, it is like less than 1,500 passengers coming in at any hour. But whereas bus transport is continuously increasing over the day, and centralized, the off-peak hours also, there is a demand for buses. And this data shows that how inefficient our rail transport system to carry the passengers. There's a big peak. Why the peak? Because of the land use differences. We should change these land use differences if to bring down these two peaks. Otherwise, there is no way to flatter it and increase more supply of rail transport system during that time. And this the figures are showing that how this transfers railways. No more transfer terminal here in Peta. As you can see that railway to railway passenger is only passenger transfer only 12%, and bus to bus 36%, rail to bus 29%, and rail bus and others 17%, like that, walk and things 5%. And this picture, the right side one, shows that average walking time in red colors in between these terminals. Average, this is average. Some people are traveling, spending more than that. And average of something like 4 to 5 minutes. And waiting time is nearly more than the 16-17 minutes. So altogether, there is a loss of 20 minutes per person in any mode of transport in this setup. So whereas in other countries, developed countries, we are not waiting for more than 3 minutes. So this is how the difference. And this is the current modal share in passenger transport in Western province and with regional countries. This is global, and you can see that in Sri Lanka, the top one is in Sri Lanka, low income group, less than 40,000 rupees per month, and high income, the middle income and high income. So higher the income, you are shifting to cars. Lower the income, that is, you can see public transportation. These are 64% captive, and middle income people also, there's a big share there. And you can see all the other countries in elsewhere in the region, they are having less than what we are having as of now. Bus transport, and their share is lower than our one. This the yellow color bands, right? So you can see that. So we are still at a very good position to consider our public transport development and going ahead with the urban development changes. And this is challenges in urban areas, how we are going to absorb this challenge is the question now. And it's a basic objective of basic objective of this multimodal transport system. We need to have multimodal transport system. Nowadays, to talk about multimodal transport system, connection between public transport and all the other transport system within the public transport, railway, buses, and paratransit, like that. So we are expecting single journey experience. We don't need a lot of transfers. So we don't need a lot of waiting. So this is called a single journey experience. Seamless travel is another term that we need to have a lot of travel. So travel is very important for people because they have a lot of activities to be satisfied. And cost effectiveness, convenience are very important for integration. And major transportation development challenges at the moment is the overcrowded network. We are struggling with our road network, and we are having a lot of issues with the present transport system because it is overcrowded. No more land spaces are available, and increased demand for travel daily because of some kind of unplanned developments are taking place, and more roads mean more traffic. And policies are very important for this demand and supply balances. We are not taking good decisions sometimes. Control the car ownership, sometimes import of car. Sometimes these days it is happening because of the economy issues, but we could have done it earlier. And use of car in some areas, restrictions, these are very important for as politicians to control these things. And the need of land use integration. We are planning now, we are talking about urban development authority, road development authority. We are planning to have land use changes now. Some thoughts are there, some investments are done, and thinking of some future model changes, mode changes, and model changes. So these are happening at the moment, but how much we can do it without having a certain aggressive policies is a problem at the moment. And energy is a big issue for us at the moment, and environment protection and social inclusion is the other issues. And optimum utilization of the urban land use land space, because we are having a limited land. So we have no much lands to expand in the urban areas. So very expensive, the things are, the land is getting expensive daily. So there is a constraint of economic and the financial limitations. And possible use of the vertical space. Self-sustained high density development is very important. What is called self-sustained? We need to go for mixed development, more and more mixed development, so that the long distance travel can be limited, minimized. This concept actually has been taken up in port city development. So a lot of sustainable kind of a development is there, because they have planned it for employment within the, sometimes within the area, not having many people coming from employment from outside the mainland like that. So these are, I think, considered during the planning stage. So it's a mixed development. Now Colombo also, I think we need to go for mixed development, not only single type of homogeneous type of office buildings only, commercial. Not that, we need to have some kind of say apartment and the commercial offices together, so that people can just walk. You will see that in my last 4 or 5 the slides, how other countries has overcome these things. So figures are there. And our challenges are the transport demand and supply balance. This is we were talking about last 20 years, but it's not happening. So there are strategies we can go for. The balance of supply and demand, need of high occupancy mass transport, the transport like LRT and bus transport, BRT systems like that, those are to come in future. And management of private modes, that is, I think it is enough for us to go by this single occupancy vehicles at the moment. Large vehicles, we are having very big vehicles in our traffic streams. We need to change this concepts, and by having different zonings. Our zoning system is also not supporting for this thing. We are talking about some commercial area, the office area and residential area like that. This is something, some wrong concept we are having. We are getting involved and planning at the moment. And this is someone is responsible for that, but we have to change it. Demand for proper urban planning is our main important demand has come to understanding that it's a livability activity area and more open space. We can't have all these concrete structures, and without having any greeneries we can't live. So we need to have a lot of greeneries as well. Once you go to vertical development, you need to have some additional space for this transportation and the activities, and more pedestrians, more cycling activities, more open activities in the area is very essential. So things are not happening in Colombo. I can't see that in major developed areas. So the buildings are coming in, but we have to think of whether we have gone for the sustainable transport systems. So it's very, very important to think. And madam, we got power now, right after 1 hour. I think some more the members will connect to this one sometimes. And the urban architect greeneries is very important, and ventilation. We can't go for all air conditioned system and this. It makes a lot of global warming and situations like that. Mobility management and basically need for more mixed transport system. So this is something a popular slide. You can see that where we are at the moment. So this is from different transport options in the world as at now available. You can see that the public transport, bus rapid transit, and suburban railways, monorails, elevated railways, underground metro, like that. So this horizontal axis shows you that modern, like urban transport, passengers per hour in one direction. This is the sub and the demand, and cost of this university is coming in vertical axis there. So you can see that where we are. These are the in 2015 and Parliament Road, where number of passengers are coming, how much of passengers. In 2035, it is forecasted to have something like 30,000 passengers in this corridor. Say, for example, Parliament Road. So what has happened that we have selected in 2016 some monorail concept. This was because of this concept we have cancelled that one, and actually a lot of intervention were there from a lot of researchers, and there were some proposal for having monorails. That was thought of having to have elevated railways and LRT systems because of these reasons. You can see that the demand is now created to have LRT system, kind of a transport system. If you have money, you can go for even underground metro, but I don't think in Sri Lanka it is viable, because you can see that capital cost for how many USD millions per kilometer. This is a comparison. This is what you can expect to see that whether we are matching with the LRT system and the monorail system. What is best at the moment? So suburban railway, it is like the time has gone past for this Parliament Road. So in this corridor, so you can see that how the demand and supply, based on that we have different options in the world. We have to think of this one. And these are some of the things that I want to show how this other part of the world. And this is a Singapore situation. This is in the recent past how they have came to have this, transport strategies came in to develop their economy over the last decades. And that is a small country, 640 square kilometers. It was in 1996, somewhere 1990s, they decided a lot of things and they developed a lot of transportation. And now it is, they have come to a situation of 5.6 million in 2020, their population. Road space is 11%, space for buildings 30%, and per capita, the per capita growth rate was 7%, very high in 1990s. And that time there was a big listening from the political stream for warning given by the transport expert. And they mentioned the limited lands area, high density development is important and coming in, and increased economy, that has matter for this increase uncontrolled growth of car ownership, because Malaysia was manufacturing a lot of cars. Car manufacturing, they have given this for a cheaper price, because transportation, shipping and things are very much limited. They have this reach across sea to travel, and there is no big cost for them to have car ownership. And more roads mean more traffic. That is experience from London, Hong Kong, and area in 1990s. They have seen this. And key strategy we used is that integration of land use. Integration of land use, as I mentioned so far, how Sri Lanka also should be as per our present, ineffective transport and the land use setup. Land use and transport integration, they were planning for that. and the development of comprehensive road. They didn't give up, road construction, but they have, considered that as well, and including the capacity maximization. They have thought of, some how to maximize the capacity by intervention of different traffic management system and things. A lot of traffic management systems came in later. And the management of car population by demand of roads and elevation of traffic congestion concept, provision of quality public transport choices, mass rapid transit, light rail transit, like that, they came in gradually. And you can see that the figures at the moment, how they have come to a situation of today's very, very elegant, very, very, very notable. So you can see this attractive picture here. They have a lot of options. They have a lot of mode of transport they can use. At the moment, they have MRT system, LRT system, a series of options. And high density land use, they have gone to that, and with the large number of open spaces. When you are traveling to, I think most of you must have traveled to Singapore, you can see that a lot of greeneries in the urban areas. It's not only buildings, not only the concrete, a lot of greeneries and the open spaces and recreational activities. That's how they are maintain their the economy. These are for all work trips. That's a that is called again commuter trips. High compatibility, that's a demand and supply balance, right? So they have maintained that one by introducing so many transport modes, and they have balance between that. High integration between modes and continuous development mass transport supply, and they have gone for something like 2.5% growth rate over 20 years. So this is how they have gone for, and it is a very, very high figure. Our traffic growth rate, you can see that it is more than that. And significant walking trips, nearly 10%. You can see that, no transport required. That is because of a lot of people are residing within urban areas. They don't need transport modes. They are just walking for their offices and schools like that. And car usage is significant. It's 21%, but the growth rate is controlled at same level, and even going at minus growth. So they are traveling, and more shift is for public transport. All these green colors, you can see that positive growth rate. These are MRT versus buses, MRT and the bus and others like that. And bus only is also depreciating, and chartered vans are going down at a rate of -6%. And again, walk is also increasing at a growth of 2-3%. And all these red colors are, like private motorized transport. Still, they are, giving a negative growth rate annual. And if you take this education trips, it is matched with land use, and it is also, you can see, no transport required. That is walking for school children. That is within the urban area, and even in the rural areas, you can't find now at the moment in Sri Lanka this much of walking trips. We were going to school in our time. But nowadays it is all motorized transport. So a lot of issues are there in our context in Sri Lanka because of health issues, and the school children are not having enough fitness because of not walking. Now they have to walk in the evening in a short distance with their parents to keep their health conditions like that. So this is how Singapore situation. You can see that the train-based transport system at this graph, you can see MRT and LRT. The attraction is increasing even for school children, and public transport, even public buses are diminishing, but the rail transport is getting more. This is how, it's like rail-based transport in Asia is something like 5% per annum is called for school children. This is how they are planning the land use. So all the schools and things are also within the cities. So nearly 25% is walking trips. So this is how I want to show you that this 5.69 million people, and high density area, 7,800 persons per square kilometer. This is how Singapore, and you can see that even at median travel time of 2010 to 2020, how that has been changed. Say MRT and LRT and public transport, bus transport, it is remaining as same. And public bus only, that has time has increased because of the congestion. Now you can see the other rail-based transport has not increased the travel time. And cars, again, not much change, no transport required, and that is they have minimized, they have gone for even walking is even reduced further from 10 minutes to 8 minutes, because facilities has made to close to their residential place. So these are the picture in Singapore as of now. So a lot of these things are available for Malaysia, London, and other European countries that I will take up in future lectures. And present challenges in urban development in Colombo and suburbs. Basically, Colombo is not giving support in high dense commercial development as of now, and limited land and needed reformations are still pending for us. And incompatibility, demand to supply balance is not there. It is open for anybody to change it by purchasing a car and through the traffic congestions. And basically, we need self-sustained cities. Mixed development brings sustainable solutions, and satellite cities, it doesn't mean that separation of this one. You can see this the port city and how it has laid out, and our UDA plan for this land use. It is like this, what I mentioned earlier. This red color one is commercial zone, and this is something residential. This is something residential. This is something mixed like that. There are things. But it should, come with the, entire area, a big plan, big revolutionary plan to manage this one with the lesson learned from other countries. And these are the our planning, major transport plan done in the recent past. And based on this present status in Western Province, entire Western Province, traffic congestion and dominated by road transportation, that is 92%. And because of that, we have planned for a lot of public transport modes, major transport plans like LRT system and electrification of railways. It is under feasibility and design stage now. 7 LRT corridors were introduced, design was completed, and even BRTs were studied to some extent, and Port City was now is ongoing. And elevated highways are coming, which will carry more vehicles to the city. Again, we'll have some constraints in future as well. And this slide, I want to show you something contradictory, what we need and where we are going. In this require intervention of modernized policies, is that policy making, planning and construction and operation is very important from the government end. So earlier, it was like we were planning in the ancient, even 1970s, and we were planning for livability and compatibility of the cities. Balance of high dense and low dense zones were very important for our countries, our Colombo plannings. And long-term policy changes and strict adherence is very important. As you know that nowadays, the policies are changing very quickly, time to time, and within very short period, maybe 2-3 years. So you can see that there are many issues with that policy changes. So this diagram, desirable versus apparent project benefits outcomes. So earlier, this green color one shows that how it should go as natural. It's basically majority of the concerns. Maybe it is like this, forecasted and estimated figure. 30% of the social aspects are considered like economic concerns are coming next, and technology matters for again at a lower scale, but even still important. Financial is coming next, and the political coming later, and the last option, last importance of proper development process. Why this? Because you can see that in economic, even some of the important projects we have, if it is economic feasibility is good, we have considered it as good, and even financially it is not viable, we are going for that. It's because of social and the economic and the technology, social and economic concerns are good in future. So in the red color one, you can see that it is going in the other way. Nowadays, most important thing is the political decisions. So in our country, financially is also very important, not the economy. Economy has not taken much So this should be changed. If you are going in this direction, we'll have a lot of issues in future for sustainable transport and the urban planning. So this cities oriented to centralized cities are not encouraged, no more considered in developed countries. So we have to go for decentralized. That is each and every area you should have mixed development, residential and the commercial and everything together in as cities, but not in the places like coming to Feta area from all the directions. So these are something I want to highlight, but not I am not taking a lot of time for this. Short term, the integration of the policy and the required intervention by the modernized policies, policy making planning. What we need is that integration of transport development and action plan in short term, medium term, and long term. Short terms, what we can do is that, like doing some little bit of traffic management, parking control, and on-street parking like that. And that is some business-oriented things in short term. Optimize utilization of the existing infrastructure. We can't widen the road, but do some make use of the existing infrastructure by traffic management and restricting parking in some peak hours like that. It's low cost. And there are many other ways that we can do. And medium term, you need to have network capacity improvement, interchanges like something like even 5 years matters for some medium term solution, not for long term. And some free public transport shuttle services that can bring some attraction of public transport mode utilization and deviating from the private motorized transport. And demand side management, entry fee, increased parking fee, high tax on vehicle imports like that we have to impose. These are the things that how the Singapore started at the very beginning, and Malaysia also followed that, and London city also followed that in 1990s. So I'm thinking that is very important to think of this. People are talking about that it is very difficult to apply in Colombo, but there should be a way of it. And long term, it's we need long term master plan with the land use and the transport integration, basically integrated land use change with the high dense development, but mixed and with integrated public transport system. That is the way out for long-term solution for economizing, even with the long-term loans burden, investment. We have to go for this one if we are trying to expect this sustainability in Colombo city. This is 4 main factors that sustain transportation and the infrastructure connectivity for developing cities. It's a community, as I mentioned earlier. We have to, our main thing is that main scenario, we need people to come to city. It's a community. And the transportation and local economy, we need to interact with the local economy. Nowadays, you can see that economic activities are going here and there, and it is a lot of turbulence. And because of that, you don't have cement, you don't have steel, everything is stuck, and it has very much badly impacted the development. And this is my recommendations. We have taken a lot of time, but my recommendation is that transport and urban development options in Sri Lanka, understanding of Sri Lanka for its inherent multicultural and social needs, even though some political terms are there to make it Singapore, make it London like that. It is we should not think of that way, because Colombo is Colombo. Sri Lanka is different culture, different nation. So we are having different needs, but we can get a lot of technical things and technical and a lot of important good things there, and we can apply them. So what we have to do with that, we have to apply those things to our culture, our area. It doesn't mean that we have to go by our go back and thought of our previous systems, but I'm thinking that there is some way of matching this new transport system, basically public transport systems, and optimal use of high dense but with mixed activities. As I mentioned earlier, greenery is very important. Modern transport options like more public transport, and I say that I have to see that I have to say actually abolish the car. This is the slogan used by London mayor in 1997. He has done a lot of things in transport development in London after that. So bus lane, bus transport developments, and that has given good results. And environment and the the health is very important for living in a urban city. Otherwise, we'll have big issues and we will be trapped in a situation where we can't live in a city like Colombo if we are not addressing these things in future. Social and finally, respond to the social and economic demand and not merely the political requirement. These are the things that we have to think of. These are some of the evidence that the congestion pricing, I couldn't use this congestion pricing terms in the previous slides, but this one is coming in future. I'm talking about how this congestion pricing and came in other traffic control measures and how they came up in congestion elevation in specifically Singapore, Malaysia, London. So that we are entirely one lecture. And you can see that these private vehicles are limited to 4% and having this all the public transport systems, and this is in European countries. So they have controlled it. It was all car transport in urban areas. Now if you go to even Australia, in city areas you won't find much cars. You can't go to Sydney using the private motorized car because a lot of congestion, a lot of issues. People are not coming. They use all public transport. This public transport connectivity is given there, and a lot of improvements are there. They are not at elevated railway transport system, but great. Still, they are managing. People are traveling long distance. All people are having more than one car ownership, but utilization is different. So they use for commuting. They use public transport, LRT and BRT systems. And we are, and this graph shows that where our country stands for at the moment. Our Sri Lankan situation, you can see that the horizontal axis, it is the GDP per capita. It is like 12,000 at the moment. Not at the moment, earlier, somewhere at the natural situations. And you compare with Nepal, it is having per capita less than 3,000, but still both countries are having a urban population. Urbanization is at a very greenery stage. We have a lot of openings, a lot of spaces there we can start. And if you go to Hong Kong, their per capita income is something like 4 times of ours, but still they have come to no more limit, no more space for developments. So 100% urbanized as. And Singapore, it is 100%. Kuwait, it is like 98 at the moment. So urbanization. So developments you can take place more, but compared to other countries in the other areas, other part of the world, you can see that we are at a very good place. And the right side picture shows you that where we are, our thinking of how our thinking of about the car, right? Whether the car is valuable or whether the person, humans are valuable, and what is the people, how people are thinking that, if you have mud sprinkle of your having a well-dressed walking somewhere on the road, the person will say sorry. Yes, the car person with car driver says sorry. If you throw a mud bucket to a car, what will happen? They feel that car is more valuable than human life and human behavior. So this is our thinking. So we have to think differently. That is a message I can tell you to bring this our urban cities to a certain and livable area with good transportation in future. If you think in this way, if our mindset change, not only ours, but all the people in the country has to take this message and understand that the human beings are much important than taking the tonnage of vehicles to the Colombo city. And that's what the message. Sorry for not being able to elaborate much because of the time limit and a lot of disturbance. I spent about 1 hour in the darkness, and I think a lot of the participants had a lot of impacts with this power cut today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Lianage. So, participants, if you have any questions, please ask. Now it is time to have some questions.
You can put in a chat box also. I can read and answer. Questions?
I think there are no questions.
Good evening. This is Sivakumar here.
Yes, Mr. Shivakumar. Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Tisalianage, for the explanation from basics to advanced, what everyone should know in this area. So I think you have given the facts and importance with the numbers also. So and also even for the you have covered the both qualitative and quantitative aspect what we need in the transport, and also land transport and the land use and the transport side both combined in your. So that is one of the important thing what Sri Lanka has to do, rather going in silos of transportation. Transport professionals work in silos and land use professionals works in silos. So I think you have elaborated the importance of these two professions should get arranged married or love married, whatever it is, the marriage is important. Thank you for that presentation, Tisa.
Thank you, Dr. Sivakumar. Thank you for your encouragement for the series. Thank you.
right. Any more questions? Yeah.
There's a request for sharing the slides. I think this will be loaded in the ISL website, in the YouTube. You can get it. If someone needs that, really, you can directly call us and get it that slides available. We can do that. No issue. We are always ready to share the knowledge. It's a knowledge sharing session. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I think there are no more questions. No questions.
Yes, sir. Doctor, this is one question.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. And you basically compare the transport system or land use pattern in Singapore and Sri Lanka, Colombo. Colombo being an old city and the land ownership is in the private hand, unlike Singapore. And also Colombo is rather complicated and congested. Can we change the Colombo city into modern transport hub and implementing all those new things like a multimodal transport system and other things you explained? Can you briefly explain, is there any possibility that Colombo converted into a city like modern day because of this constraint in the land use ownership? Thank you.
As Cham, thank you very much for your very, very important question. This is where actually I try to explain that we are highly dependent on our private transport mode. As you can see that our transport supply at the moment is very high by number of private vehicles, but whereas if we are introducing public transport, more and more public transport systems, there will be a big vacuum in our road system. There will be more spaces for even this road transport network. We can convert that into public transport system like BRT systems, bus rapid transit systems, and even we can start that one and we can expand that one for LRT systems in future. So we have to go for gradually one by one. So I think if we can introduce policies first, like Singapore did it. So a lot of evidence are there, not only Singapore, Malaysia. They start with first discouraging the motorized private transportation while supplying gradually the bus transport system. You can't see even good air-conditioned buses are traveling in Colombo as of now. Even intercity buses has depreciated because of the policies. A lot of controls by different parties. A lot of activities against the policies. This culture has to be changed. So my understanding is that this culture should be changed through the more and more expenditures by the government through medias. People are not aware what is happening, what is to be done, and those information should be given to the public by proper people, not just by media campaign through political requirements, but they should go through that. I think IESL can make a big role in this area because it is gettable. It is not a big task. If you are starting with policies, we need policies. We need to have a mixture of policies that has to be planned, but in long term, not to change from time to time within 2 years, 5 years like that. This is what I can see through my experience in the industry for last 24 years. So we are not even doing a model. Even we can start with a small model and show to the public that this is working. It is not happening. So take up an example from this Battaramul and Parliament Road. It's like carrying about 100,000 vehicles a day. So if you are converting that one into a bus transport system and that more and more buses, but it is not very easy because gradually you can introduce some space for that and provide this all the luxury that private vehicle owners are having. And I think most of the people will prefer to go. A lot of people do not like to drive in this traffic streams. And so a lot of things are there we can discuss in future events. I think if you participate, I will take a lot of insight in that in this congestion alleviation lecture in future, maybe 2 months time. So that's the answer I can give in short at the moment. Thank you.
Any more question, please? Okay, time is passing. Shall we wind up? So I'm Trimavithana. I'm Trimavithana. So I'm a fellow member of IESL and the member of Civil Engineering Sectional Committee as well as Knowledge Sharing Subcommittee member. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Dr. Tisaliyanage. So it's a very, very valuable and timely prepared presentation. So you shared your knowledge, you gathered. So it's very useful for everyone. So I hope, and everyone got a good knowledge from this presentation. Thank you very much, Doctor, once again. So you are well prepared and timely required presentation and sharing your very valuable knowledge. Thank you, Dr. Liyanage. And also I must thank to the IESL hosting this event, and also the IT people in the IESL. I must thank those that group as well, and not at least, but at last, so I have to thank all of our participants, our members, who participated for this lecture. If you don't participate, we can't make this event success. So so we'll hope for the future presentations also. We expect your participation. Thank you very much for everyone. Thank you, Dr. Liyanage, once again, and thank you very much, everybody. Have a nice day. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Trima. Thank you very much. I shared my email. You can send anything if you want to in future sharing this knowledge. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Good night.
Yes, wish you the same. Thank you. Bye.